if I speak on social media, I'm speaking, it's not me personally, it's the organisation, and I take that very seriously. And so I think, if I speak, it's as good as a statement from the BBC, and we need to absolutely hold on to that. Where I think there is a bit more of a reason to talk out, and it's quite tempting, is that where you get drawn into something, and the classic thing is there's criticism, which you may find abusive actually, and there's a real temptation to get involved and to start saying, well, you're wrong about that. We did do this piece, we didn't do that piece, we did say this, we didn't say that. And I think where that can go wrong is that you get into an argument with someone online. And actually, I don't think that helps the BBC. So if I am drawn to reply to it, then I think we need to be quite factual and remember who we're talking for. I mean, there's further complication there is when things take on a momentum, so which happens a lot. We get a lot of support for a view, particularly criticising the BBC over one reporting of a story, and there is a genuine question as to whether you ignore it, therefore you don't encourage debate and a story growing when you think it's wrong, or you respond. And I think the best thing to do is to stick with a statement response, to agree what we think, where we are on this position, and respond robustly, but not get into a fight online with individuals. Again, I'll talk personally and then I'll talk about my colleagues. I think for me personally, as I say, I think it's really important that you resist the temptation to get drawn in. And sometimes it does get really personal, and I'll have questions saying, who does she think she is? She's this person or that person, very critical, abusive actually, about me and my life, my personal life, and they don't know anything about me, and they certainly don't know the values that I have. Or my reputation as a journalist, but people feel free to say things that they would never say to your face online, and I think while it's incredibly tempting to get involved, you really have to resist. I did have a time a couple of years ago when this was fairly new to me, where I did engage with somebody and ask them for their number so I could phone them personally and explain my position, and then which I was given the number, and then I thought about it and thought, actually this is the road to madness, because what am I going to do, phone up every person online? I also think it's important to remember that you're not necessarily going to convince them, and so just responding mostly just produces more abuse. So again, go back to what I was talking about earlier, which is try and stick to what you believe in. Have you done the right thing as a journalist? Have you done the right thing for the organisation? And give a robust response on that, rather than get drawn into, why are you saying this about me or that about me?